Throughout history, people have sought knowledge. With knowledge, men formed tribes. Tribes became kingdoms, and men became kings. Then there was hidden knowledge, knowledge of the sages, prophets, magi, and wizards. These reigned alongside the pharaohs, King Solomon, Alexander the Great, and on their shoulders was placed the fate of nations, the fate of men in battle. As prophets proclaimed the favor of the gods over armies, and for the armies that suffered death and defeat, historical records show that their prophets shared the same fate, usually thrown into flaming furnaces or vats of boiling oil. While you might say that sounds extreme, keep in mind that now there is no punishment. The world is filled with fear-mongering false prophets causing their share of death and destruction, a high price to pay for false prophecy. While there was no threat of death, the knowledge that Katie held would affect the course of history that the wizard desperately wanted to change in his favor. Katie recalled the events of that day, trying to forget the fear she felt seated at the wizard's table. The wizard was my enemy. I was only 12, and I knew it then like I know it now. Sitting at the wizard's table, my mind was a jumble. How did I get there? In an empty field, alone with this horrible being, this tyrant with his insane temper and magical powers that could turn the living to stone. I sat there squirming in my chair while he sat there sipping his tea, looking down that long table and smiling. Now that we were alone, I was so scared. I knew nothing about the white horse, and the fact that he thought I did was the only thing holding him at bay. What would he do when he found out and I was no use to him? The angel had warned me, say nothing to the wizard. Now I realized saying nothing was my only hope. At least it bought me time. The wizard's table was 12 feet long and magical, with food constantly appearing and disappearing, like some ghostly presentation. Looking at it was unnerving. Sitting there, I wanted to run. I looked left and right, but not knowing where to go, the big open field was like a prison. Seeing my fear, the wizard leaned forward, trying to show real concern. "My dear," he said, "are you all right?" I sat there with my heart pounding, my mind racing. Say nothing, I said to myself. When I didn't respond, he put his teacup down. "You don't look at all well," he said, then started apologizing. I listened to him as he apologized for everything that had happened, looking for me, bringing me here, his anger, all of it. I didn't expect that. He almost sounded sincere, and in that moment, I felt less afraid. "Are you sure you're all right?" he said, his clever eyes looking sad and concerned. "Yes," I said, then clapped my hands over my mouth. Say nothing, I shouted in my head. He started talking again in that same apologetic tone, but I was too angry at myself to listen until I heard him say, "And since you have traveled such a long way, I thought you might like a little something to eat before I send you home." When he said that, I sat up in my big throne chair. "Home? I'm going home?" "Why, yes, of course you are. Surely you cannot stay here. Home is where you belong. I can send you back immediately if you like. Unless, of course, you'd rather have something to eat first." Suddenly I was so happy, the thought of going home was too good to be true. Looking down at the magical table, with all that food slowly appearing and disappearing in front of me, now at least I was calm enough to be hungry. "All you need do is touch whatever you want, and it will be made real." With that, he sat back and took another sip of his tea. It is my absolute favorite. Green tea." He lowered his cup, then looked at me as though a thought had just occurred to him. "Tell me, child, of all the foods in your world, what is your absolute favorite?" "Grammy Nana's cherry cheesecake," I said. The question was so easy, I didn't even have to think. My mom showed me how to make it, but Grammy Nana made it the best cherry cheesecake in all the world. But that was before she passed away, I said. "Oh, I'm so sorry. Do tell me about your grandmother." He said it, trying to sound like he actually cared, and did a good job, considering the fact that he hated the woman, since it was her prayers that had kept him away. Then he said, "I get the impression she was quite a special person." "She was," I said, and started rattling on about her and everything she meant to me. I remember the wizard smiling. Now that he had me talking, his plan was working perfectly, until I mentioned the Bible. The wizard cringed and nearly dropped his tea. I didn't notice it at first. The word itself was like a needle in the flesh that made him cringe every time I said it. It was all he could do to sit still as I spoke. Nana always read the Bible. She even told us stories from the Bible. She had lots of names for it. The Good Book, the Word of God, her pillar of strength. She loved the Bible. The wizard flinched and squirmed like he was sitting on a tack. She had 3 of them, a red Bible, a blue Bible, and a black...
Enough!
He yelled. I shrank down in my seat. I had no idea what was wrong.
I'm sorry,
he said. He quickly tried to compose himself.
That was a lovely story. Your Nana's cheesecake sounds delightful. Now that you mention it, I do believe I see a slice of something right over there.
Right where the wizard pointed, there appeared a ghostly slice of Nana's cheesecake. I was so amazed, I reached out and watched it materialize, become real. I sat there staring at the dessert, the ghostly food coming and going all around it. A fat slice of cheesecake with pieces of strawberries, a swirl of whipped cream, and a perfect little cherry set on top.
Please, don't be shy.
Go ahead. Have a taste, he said, with a gentle wave of his hand. A secret nudge. The simplest thing for a wizard, to put his thought into your head and make you do his bidding. He watched me gazing down at the thing and pretended to sip his tea, then smiled as I took a bite. It tasted exactly like what I expected. It was creamy and sweet, but chewier somehow. It was good, but not like Nanny's, and that's all I would have. The wizard was smiling and nodding, like he was waiting for my response or wanted me to have more. What he was really waiting for was the spell to take effect.
Well, he said, have as much as you want. How is it?
I smiled, trying to be as nice as I could. It's good, I said, but it's not like Nana's. Then gave a little shrug like, sorry.
Of course it's not, he said. How could it be? The dear woman is gone and has taken her precious secrets with her.
When he said that, I remember thinking it was a harsh thing to say, but it was true and made me think. Think about Nana and her being gone, instead of noticing that the chair I was sitting in was slowly getting bigger all around me. Getting bigger as I was getting smaller. 3 inches smaller, to be exact.
She paused. I looked back and forth at them. Wait, what happened? Jack smiled with some excitement.
So remember I said they came up with a plan to capture the white horse? They had been working on this for centuries. That's what made finding her so amazing to them.
I looked over at Katie, who just stared back at me. Jack continued.
It's one thing to be hidden away like some ancient relic. It's something else entirely to be sought after for centuries. Now you're talking stuff like buried treasure, a gold mine, the Hope Diamond.
A thing of great value, I said. I was still looking at her. Jack pointed to Katie.
Imagine a race of powerful wizards desperately looking for her for centuries.
He waited till I got the picture, then continued.
There was a council of wizards dedicated to the search. Marplot, the Grand High Sorcerer, was the oldest and wisest among them. This was his search and his plan. Gelzuin worked for him, which was a frightening and questionable position, since Marplot was a dangerous old wizard. Like an old man who shouts when he's lost his hearing, or uses too much spice when his taste is gone. Marplot, the Grand High Wizard, always used too much power with his magic. Gelzuin often wondered about the feeble old wizard, but decided the assignment would be a huge feather in his cap if he could survive, a risk no other wizard wanted to take, after a previous wizard had nearly been incinerated when Marplot discovered that his tea was too cold. Those who dealt with the old sorcerer were happy to give Gelzuin the lead, so the search began. Marplot and his council knew that since the whereabouts of the white horse was a secret, there might be clues. They discovered that indeed special knowledge had been granted to certain people throughout history, throughout time. information gifted by God that remained a secret even to the people who carried it. The answer to things like immortality, why do we dream, where is heaven, answers to things we don't even have questions for. Who they were, the wizards didn't care, but there was one connection between them all. They were all infants. He paused. You mean babies were given this information? Jack nodded. Yes, but not their babies. Only children of our world were chosen. The clue was in the Bible. They saw that the book mentioned children nearly 2,000 times. They wondered why, and decided they would search the minds of all human children throughout history. Quite a task, but they felt it was worth it. And what they found was interesting. The adult mind could not contain such information. Only the innocence of a child had the power to not only hold the information, but fully understand it. The younger the child, the stronger the hold, the clearer the understanding.
The power of innocence. I never thought of that.
Yeah, innocence. It has a power, Jack said. That's why it has to be protected. And what better person to give such secrets to than one who can never tell? Imagine that. Your baby is in the crib looking up and can see heaven in all its splendor and perfect detail. All you see is the ceiling. That made me think of the time my own kid creeped me out. Almost the same exact scenario. Hang on, I said. Where's all this information coming from? Where'd you get all this? Jack smiled. Gelzuin. I was his apprentice for weeks. Wouldn't you say? He looked at Katie, who nodded and shrugged like it was anyone's guess. I don't know, it felt like weeks, she said. We went to so many places, did so many things. It's like time just melted together. Jack kept going. Gelzuin loved to talk, mostly brag. Anyway, he said it was Marplot, the old wizard, who found Katie. When he did, he said the child was only an infant, and the old woman's prayers did not cover the house. Not yet. If they had, we may never have even found her. Those were his words. When the old wizard looked into Katie's mind, he saw the vision of the white horse, and knew that she was the one they were searching for. But before he and the council could come up with a plan, the old woman had arrived. The prayers were said, and the battlefront was established. The child was off limits. Imagine their frustration, the anger, to have the child right there, but no way to get to her. So they waited and watched her grow older and older, and the knowledge slowly slipping away day by day as her youth and her perfect innocence faded. What, like she was over the hill at the ripe old age of 12? Yes, Jack said. In this case, absolutely. Apparently this kind of knowledge is fleeting, and when it's gone, it's like you never knew it. Actually, Katie interrupted, it's more like your conscious mind builds a wall around it that gets thicker and thicker with time. Oh yeah, that's good, Jack said, then turned to me. So to finally answer your question, now that Gelzuin had her in his possession, the plan was to start making her younger.
So she would remember what she'd been given at birth. I looked at Katie. So you weren't just getting smaller. You were getting younger. How much younger?
Good question, Katie said. Obviously he wanted me to eat the whole thing, but I only took a bite. But just that one bite took off 3 years. When it was done, I was 9 years old and had to sit up straighter to see the wizard over the magic table. That's when all the food disappeared, and he focused all his attention on me, quietly observing the effects.
Cursed conjurings. Still too old,
he said, rubbing his chin. How do you feel? He asked. I thought it was an odd question since, as far as I could tell, nothing had happened. Fine, thank you. My voice was higher, and he smiled, which he obviously thought was an encouraging sign. Now was the time to put theory to the test. The stories you share are so interesting. Perhaps you could tell me one more.
It was another push of the mind, and I felt it. "You mean the white horse, don't you?" The wizard gave a sheepish smile, as though he hoped it wasn't too much to ask. "You think I know where he is, but I don't," I said. "Besides, that was a mean trick you played on me, turning that ogre into a white horse."
My dear child, how else could I have brought you here to tell me about the real one? The wizard smiled. The one called Majesty. Where is he right now?
Now that I was smaller, I was a little braver. "I told you, I don't know," I said, and thought the whole thing was silly. When it became clear that I had nothing more to say, he frowned at me and tried to think.
Yes, you did. Perhaps you don't. I know, he said. Let's just play a little game and pretend that you do know. Just tell me a story. Tell me where I would go to find the white horse.
"But how will that help you if I really don't know?" I said.
You let me worry about that. Just tell me a story.
Suddenly, I felt sorry for the wizard. He wanted to find the white horse so badly. Then I thought, since I really didn't know anything and he was ready to send me home, I decided it couldn't hurt and played along. "Okay," I said, "but I'm not good at telling stories." The wizard just stared, squinting at me, waiting to see what I would say. I sat there trying to think of the kind of stuff Jack would say, magical-sounding stuff. "All right," I said. "To get to the white horse." This time, it was the wizard who sat up in his chair. "There are 4 kingdoms you must pass through." Gelzuin listened and leaned forward. "First," I sat there waiting for something interesting to pop into my head, "there is the land of the giants." The wizard gasped, which was strange to me, because he knew I was just making up a story. He uncovered his mouth and whispered,
"The land of great discoveries."
He said it like the place was real.
"Go on, child. Go on."
Then I thought, oh, he's acting. He's just playing the game. So I kept going. "Then there is there's the forest of the living trees, which protect the, cloud stones." I remember thinking those last 2 words didn't seem to go together. I wanted to apologize since I wasn't doing a very good job. And that's when the wizard yelled and made me jump.
"Yes! Of course! Go on! Go on!"
He said it like I was about to uncover buried treasure. I didn't like the game anymore, and I thought maybe this wasn't a good idea. I looked up to the sky trying to think of something else to say, and right then the little fairy popped into the space right in front of my nose. She swooped down, buzzing around furiously. "No, no, no! Say nothing," she shouted. "Mind what the angel told you." She said it, then drew back in surprise. What has he done to you?" Now that the fairy was there, suddenly everything went dark and was gone. The wizard shouted,
"Meddling fairies!"
The bright green meadow, the magic table. In an instant, it all disappeared. I was back in the castle, in another chamber. In front of me was a rickety old table covered with canvas cloth. On it was a single candle dripping wax and a dish with a chunk of green cheese. It was a piece of this horrible thing that I'd put in my mouth. The taste was bitter, and I could see where I had nibbled off bits of it. The cheesecake was just another illusion. I waved the fairy aside. "You tricked me," I yelled to the wizard, sputtering and spitting out bits of stale cheese. Suddenly, the great bear and his search party flooded into the chamber, followed by dwarves, shouting joyfully,
"We found her, lads! She's here!"
The wizard's troop of ogres and goblins marched in and made their way to Gelzuin, who slumped back in his chair, staring.
"It was all going so well," he muttered. "Scoundrel!"
Bronwyn growled and shook his paw at the wizard. Suddenly, the room shook like an earthquake, and the castle wall behind the ogres buckled. The monster staggered out of the way just as the wall caved in, raining down rocks and debris. When the dust settled, the angel stepped through the gaping hole and stood atop the rubble.
"Please do come in,"
Gilzuin said with a tired glance. Stadia approached, and Jack walked in right behind him. I was so excited to see him. "The look on your face," Katie said, and Jack joined in. "Yeah, well, from my perspective, when I stepped into that misty portal behind the angel, I was no longer walking. There was no ground, only space all around me. I was moving. It was impossible to know how fast, being pulled forward behind the angel, like I was in his jet stream or something. I kept asking, 'Where are we? Where are we going?' when I saw a stone wall up ahead. But before I could say anything, he just pushed it over. I think more for my benefit. He could have just passed through it, but he had to get me in. And now that he was returning, it was a definite show of strength." Suddenly, Jack was serious and had this look in his eyes. When I stepped through that opening, I stood on the rocks and couldn't believe my eyes. I saw the ogres, then the goblins immediately, and I was about to run when I heard your voice. I remember the pitch was high, a little off, like, "Jack, you're here." Katie frowned. "I thought I sounded fine to me," she said. Jack continued. "That's when I saw you standing there with that giant bear right next to you, and what looked like a sparkling lightning bug glowing right above your head like a lantern. There you were, so happy, in the middle of that dark chamber surrounded by monsters. I remember thinking, this is the weirdest dream." I saw the angel march up to you, then reach back and draw that huge shield out of thin air. I remember he looked angry. "Yeah, and I still didn't know what happened," Katie said. "That golden shield was bigger than I was and shone like glass. He was holding it so I could see my reflection. When I looked, my braces were gone, my hair was lighter and curlier. I remember smiling, and the shield vanished into thin air. When I looked up, Stadia was glaring down at me. I spoke to the wizard," I said.
I know.
When I realized that was the extent of his anger, I turned and ran to you. Jack smiled and nodded. I remember saying, "What happened to you?" thinking it was all a dream. You were so excited with that little voice, telling me everything, and I started looking around, like it was some kind of dark ride that we were on, and sooner or later, the lights would come up and we would get out. It wasn't until you said that you made the traveling spell work that an uncontrollable chill went down my spine. I remember I thought of that thing in my closet, and the dark world I could barely see in the mist beyond the walls. This was that place. I could taste the air, a hint of smoke and incense. That's when I knew that everything I was looking at was real. It was the weirdest feeling. I had dreamt about this place. It was everything I wanted to experience, and now that I was there, I was quietly freaking out. I remember asking, "Where are we?" The fairy flew to me with her shimmering light. She said, "This is Coravandia, eastern region of something or other." Katie joined in. Eastern region of the Norworld, grand domain of King Bromwyn, born of the Fineland, who sits upon the Vandian throne. Jack and I looked at her. "It's where she lived," Katie said. "I told you we were tight." Jack continued. Whatever she said, she ended with, "until he showed up," and pointed behind her. That's when I saw the wizard sitting in the shadows. The angel was mad for what he had done to Katie.
I turn my back, and like a coward, you take advantage of an innocent child.
His voice echoed, filling the dark chamber. The ogres and goblins shrank back, while the wizard approached the angel.
"She is unharmed, I assure you. Look at her. She is the picture of innocence, and has told me much."
"Then release her," Stadia demanded.
"How can I? She's only revealed the beginning of our journey."
"I trust you will be accompanying us."
I remember the angel's glaring eyes and the wizard's wicked grin as the two faced off. Then the wizard said,
"And now that you've been good enough to bring me the boy,
we shall be on our way." He turned to me with arms wide open, making as grand a show as always.
"Welcome, Jack. I've been expecting you," he said, then reached out.
I'll never forget that pink light, a flash that shot from his hand. It made me blink, and when it was gone, he said,
"Come, there is much work to be done, and many things for you to see."
It was like a command that I couldn't resist. As I crept forward, that's when I knew what had happened, what he did to me. I became aware of my newfound powers as my feet rose off the floor. He had given me the power of flight. All I had to do was think it, and I could do it. I could fly. I remember looking up as I went higher and higher to the dark rafters. There was so much space up there. I sped up, turning and spinning with total control. I was doing cartwheels on the ceiling, serious Peter Pan stuff. I even dive-bombed that little fairy and threw that tablecloth over her. Remember?
Katie was not amused. She was almost ignoring him, like the experience was one she wanted to forget. Then she made it clear.
"And while you were having fun doing your cartwheels and flying around the room, to the angel, the bear, and everyone watching, it was clear that you had joined forces with the wizard, and whatever happened next, from that moment on, you were on his side." Jack looked at her, and then at me, like we didn't get it. "Come on, it was amazing. You have no idea what that felt like," he said. His eyes were wide and staring. In that moment, I could see the powerful grip the wizard had had on him. We just looked at him until he got past it. Whatever. When I touched down in front of him, he must have seen the look on my face.
"There is much more I can teach you," he said.
After that, the huge ogres towering over him and the hideous, wicked goblins standing at my feet meant nothing to me. It was clear he had control over them all, and there was the promise of even greater power. I was the wizard's apprentice. It was everything I wanted. I remember he put his arm around my shoulder, then looked at all of you.
"Prepare the wagons and spread the word," he said. "We leave tonight."
"And that's when he took you," Katie said. The two of them faded into thin air, and the hideous procession of ogres and goblins disappeared behind them. Now that it was over, I turned to the angel, angry and pleading, "Can't you do something? Can't you stop him?"
"Not without risking your brother's life," he said, and just stared at me. "The wizard believes you can find the white horse. Is this true?"
"No," I shouted. "I don't know anything. I just told him a story. I made it all up and he believed me. Really. I don't know anything." The angel stood silent, while Bronwyn, the fairy, and the band of dwarfs behind them all frowned at me. The bear gave me a curious look.
"You are not from our world, that is certain," he said. "The wizard has chosen you above all others, and has risked a great deal to bring you here."
"And here you stand," the fairy added. I felt like I was on trial all over again. That's when the angel spoke.
"For the moment, let us assume there is some truth to his claim."
I gazed up into the eyes of the angel.
"Fear not. It is a bold adventure which lies ahead. You are very young, but if you are brave, I believe the opportunity will present itself to save your brother. I have been sent to watch over you, and so I shall. Together, we will learn what it is you know, and uncover the wizard's plan."
Suddenly, the fairy leapt in front of me like a spark. "Together!" she shouted in her tiny voice. Then the bear, then the little soldiers, dwarf men barely any bigger than I was, drew their swords and shouted all at once, "Together!"
"Well, even though the wizard had your brother, that had to be some comfort," I said.
Katie nodded. "It was." I was speechless, she said, then looked at Jack. "So, I never asked because I really didn't want to know, but now that we're here, while you were gone, with your newfound friend, what else did he teach you?" Suddenly, the excitement left him, and Jack looked scared, like there was a secret that he had kept, and for good reason. He tried to sound matter-of-fact. "Honestly, the wizard was really more concerned with whatever you said to him, and spent most of the time preparing for the journey ahead. After we left you, I remember there were a lot of books. I think
We appeared in a library. The beasts were gone, and it was just him and me. I watched him going around collecting things, talking to himself. He handed me stuff, a leather sack that he strapped over my shoulder, then rolls of maps that he tossed to me. Everything he said to me, he said in passing. He made me swear the wizard's oath, loyalty to the clan, and superiority over all others, even though I wasn't born with power like him and his kind. And then there are the warnings, lots of warnings. He said basic things that a wizard should know, like limits on power, times and places to use magic, creatures to watch out for, things that resist magic, the effects of too much magic on the mind, induced madness, standard rules of sorcery, things like that. I'm surprised I still remember. I watched him. I could see the concern on his face, even talking about it. He continued slowly. After gathering whatever he needed, I was holding all this stuff, trying not to drop anything. He turned to look at me and said, "I accept you as my apprentice, the same as I was before the one who tortured me for the knowledge he gave. You will learn we wizards are cruel masters, and the powers we have will have you as well. It's that cruelty that makes us strong and spreads fear to all who see us. You are one of us now and will be hated. It's the price you pay for the power you have. This world is ours, and we will never let it go. This hunt will see to that, and he knows it." Again, he must have seen the look on my face. "Don't worry, boy. If he destroys us, you won't be the first apprentice to die in service to his master. But if we survive, think of the stories you will tell." He smiled down on me with that wicked grin, then walked through the doors. "Come along," he said. "The adventure begins." As much as I admired the wizard, I suddenly realized he was completely insane. Thank you for listening. Watch for episode 5, The Rabble Wagon. If you like these stories, you can experience the entire adventure with Majesty, the Sorcerer, and the Saint, a Kindle ebook. Once again, thank you for listening.